All right. We're back in at the Domed In Pod. Here we are again. We're going to talk about our offensive linemen today, the big boys. I got my Labatt Blue. It's clearly a sunny, beautiful day over here in New York. So, damn.
But great day for a
That crisp
crisp
Labatt Blue, nothing like it. There's nothing like that crisp Labatt Blue. Look at that in the sun. Oh, my
Oh,
goodness.
it's
Isn't that
glistening.
beautiful?
It's glistening.
That's beautiful. Talk about beautiful. This has been a theme of our previews so far. Now that we're getting to the offensive lineman, I'm excited to talk about it as well again here. Beef.
There's a lot of it in this group.
For the first time, I think for the first time in like as far back as I can remember, the Syracuse offensive line has beef, and it has beef up and down the lineup. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the picture of who's starting at this position is a lot less clear. We have a lot of moving parts. A lot of guys moved out. Obviously, Petrie took a terrible season-ending, career-ending injury with that ACL tear. But, we have brought in a lot of exciting guys. So what we think here at the Domed In Pod, what we think we see as the starting lineup, at left tackle, we think we're going to have Weatherspoon. He's a big guy. He's played some years at Howard University. We think this is kind of the guy that's going to step up and be our starting left tackle. At left guard, we're bringing in a guy from North Carolina, Zach Rice. He's big. We think he's going to start there, but, there are some questions. Byron Washington, he's a big-time recruit that we got. He's a big guy from DeSoto, Texas. He's highly touted as a big-time recruit. So to say that one guy's going to start over the other, we just don't know. At center, we brought in Austin Collins. Obviously, he was looking more like a guard spot when we brought him in, but because Petrie went down, Collins is really going to look like he's going to for sure be that center that we need, because we didn't really have one. We were moving Petrie from a guard spot to center. So that's really the question right now, the offensive line. But I think Fran did a good job addressing that with a guy who's a veteran who's played at Louisville. At right guard, again, there's two guys here that we're really looking at. The first one for me, a guy that I like, is Joshua Miller. I think we've heard a lot about him through spring ball as being, pretty good, and he's played across the offensive line, so that's good too. And then TJ Ferguson, who's, a senior. He transferred from Florida State. He has experience playing at Alabama too, so likely a lot of these guys are going to rotate. So, it's not just going to be five guys. You're going to have injuries, but definitely a competition there as well. And then at right tackle, I think that's going to be set. You're going to have Cam Pringle, our starting right tackle. Some of the other guys that we'll have along the offensive line for depth, Joe Cruz, he's an experienced guy, New York kid. You also have Khalil Stewart. He's another freshman, a promising newcomer. We're going to have Travion Mack. He's expected to be a backup, but he's probably going to play some significant time for us. And then Bertrand, he's a big boy. He's coming in, big boy. He's going to play probably the tackle spots, we think. But again, another guy who we're probably going to see rotating in and out. So again, all these guys, they're 6'6", 300 pounds, 340 pounds, 350 pounds. This is what we love to see. A lot of big guys, a lot of freshmen coming in who might not be ready to play. Obviously it's hard to play this position as a freshman, but just shows you the talent and the depth we're going to have. And I do think Fran showed us last year, and I think we're going to continue to see it. He's a guy who likes to rotate.
Totally. He likes to rotate. And I think the other thing that's, promising about this group is while there hasn't been a ton of snaps played at Syracuse from this group of guys, this actually is a pretty experienced group of offensive linemen. These are guys that have played a lot of snaps at whatever level they've been at. Some guys have been lower. Some guys have been playing at the P5 level.
But a lot of big schools here, Florida State, North Carolina, Alabama, there's 100%. A lot of places that these guys have been.
Bringing these guys in who are playing real ball and playing real snaps at these places. Louisville. So, look, our offensive line is going to likely, we're going to bring in guys who probably played snaps and play real snaps for us from Louisville, Florida State, and North Carolina, right? So, that's not a bad crop of guys to be bringing in by any means. I think it'll be interesting, right? Like we do have a lot of turnover. We were a pass happy offense last year. I think there were some concerns about not returning a ton of offensive linemen. I would push back against that a bit. While we had a great offensive year, McCord was great through the air. We struggled to run the ball all season long with an NFL running back. Like that offensive line had flaws last year. And so I think there actually is an opportunity for improvement here with this group. And I think there is a talent upgrade at this position. And it's not lost to me. Like Weatherspoon started 10 games at left tackle for Syracuse last year. Look, he wasn't an All-American, but he was a solid starter. That's a lot of continuity coming back there at that position, which is probably the most critical on the line with two really first-year starting right-handed quarterbacks there. So I don't know. I'm encouraged by the group. Pringle's got a lot of potential. Rice was a former 5-star who's trying to get his last opportunity to play real ball. Ferguson, again, played at a high level. Collins didn't allow a sack last year at Louisville. This is a good group, right? Like, and to your point, I think there's going to be a lot of guys who do get time on the field. And the guys who play well are going to stay on the field, right? I think that's what Fran is breeding with this group. And I think there's just going to be another group that there is the cream will rise to the top here in terms of who the best players are going to get the majority of the snaps. And I think hopefully, ultimately, it leads to a more balanced offensive attack this year.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think the balance is going to be huge. And I also just think, hey, this is the biggest, but also probably the most touted from, especially when you look at the high school rankings of these kids, that Syracuse has ever had. And I think those two things make a huge difference.
Totally. I mean, we didn't even get to him yet, but big Byron Washington. I mean, we're talking about a 6'7", 380-pound man, right, at 18, 19 years old.
We did talk about him as a depth guy behind Zach Rice. We did. He's definitely somebody that we're looking to. But again, we talked about it.
He probably runs the field. Like
we can't really rely on freshmen at this position.
No.
And we'll see. It's a position that needed a lot of overhaul. Again, we talk a lot in college football about like returning guys and you're returning guys, but if your guys weren't that great, like why return them?
Right. Exactly.
So I like to see that we've got some fresh blood, and I hope that maybe with some of the young guys we have coming in, we'll actually see continuity in the future at this position, which I think is important.
Agreed.